Well, the Gandhi Damad, Robert Vadra, today is going to be sitting on tenterhooks. And why not? Well, a UK court has rubber-stamped the Enforcement Directorate's case seeking extradition of Robert Vadra's alleged close aide, Sanjay Bhandari. Now, this fugitive arms dealer will be facing the courts here in India on serious charges of money laundering as well as tax evasion. Now, the reason why this is a huge blow to Robert Vadra is because of an April 2010 email trail between Vadra and Bhandari's alleged aide, Thampi, regarding a London property as well as Thampi's cousin. Now, the Enforcement Directorate will be feeling triumphant today. After all, it has claimed that this property is owned by Bhandari's frontman and held the property for the Gandhi in-law Robert Vadra. In other words, the ED says that the flat in London was a kickback which was paid allegedly to Robert Vadra as a commission for allegedly introducing Vadra's close aides to Bhandari, to some of the topmost officials of the UPA, ministers as well included. This was supposed to be a kickback in the petroleum scam which dates back to 2007. Now, for years altogether, the Enforcement Directorate has suspected that there was a deep linkage between Bhandari and Robert Vadra. Here's why the ED believes that their relationship is very suspicious. We are going to show to you on a graphics format exactly why it looks that this is a very suspicious deal. We're going to tell you what's legal and also why it's suspicious. Not all of it is per se illegal. However, Bhandari's rise from a homeopathy to an arms dealer does raise certain eyebrows. No illegality there per se, remember. However, it is very suspicious how someone went from homeopathy to becoming an arms dealer. Now, what is suspicious about this is that email trail that we had just referred to regarding the London home which links Bhandari and Robert Vadra via one of the nephews, the cousins of Sanjay Bhandari. Also, another thing, 2008, Bhandari had floated an Offset India Solutions, one of the firms. Now, why is that suspicious? Because it started after 2006 UPA's 30% plow back policy. So, Sanjay Bhandari seems to have benefited from UPA's policy. This is something which is going to be looked into. Also, in 2010, Bhandari then gets the Pilates deal to liaison with India from India's side. Why is that suspicious? Nothing illegal there, but it's suspicious because it is a huge deal. It's a huge Pilates deal, and that too was given to a newcomer, which is Sanjay Bhandari, with absolutely no prior experience in defense deal. Why would that happen? Those are the questions that the Enforcement Directorate must be looking into now. Also, in April 2010, Bhandari and Vadra's email trail regarding the London home. We'll get you the details of that in just a bit, but the London home is now very, very evident because Times Now managed to get you that entire email trail. What's suspicious about it? Incidentally, it coincided with the Pilates deal. 2010 was when there was an email trail. 2007 was when that deal came into being. Also, let's tell you how in June 2010, Sanjay Bhandari sells off the Bryanston house for £1.9 million. Why is that suspicious? Because the sale, incidentally, is just 6 days after signing of the Pilates deal. Is that mere coincidence? Well, those are the questions which must be looked into right now. These are the suspicious details which the enforcement agencies have convinced the UK court need to be looked into. But let's now move on and tell you what exactly is the problem with all of this, that India's investigative agencies have identified this house in London as the price that was offered allegedly to Bhandari to Vadra as a kickback in exchange for access to top UPA leaders. So here's a bit more about 12 Ellerton House, which is in Bryanston in London. We got you visuals of that, walkthroughs as well as reports of it here on Times Now. So let's also remind you what really are the allegations by the Income Tax Department. Remember, Income Tax too is looking into Sanjay Bhandari's alleged tax evasion. Here is the picture of Ellerton House, which is there in London, Bryanston, to be very clear about it. This is the link. Now, that is owned by Harold Sachs and Shirley Sachs from 2000 to 2016. Here's where the irregularities start to begin. The Sachs family then gave the Benami services, this as per the IT department, Benami services to politically exposed people. Now, who are these politically exposed people that the income tax department's referring to? Let's tell you how the Benami services provided by the Ellerton House Management Limited. They essentially had this Ellerton House Management Limited. As per the income tax department, it is nothing short of a holding committee. This was to own a flat. The buyers were then made to pick shares in the holding company, which is again Ellerton Management that we are discussing. Following which, in these land records, which Times Now also managed to access, the Sachs family remained the original owners. On paper, they remained as the original owners. In 2010, then Skylight FZE invested in Ellerton House Management Limited. Now, Skylight is an interesting firm that we'll come back to with more details on. But Robert Vadra then uses Skylight for all his investments. That's how all of this get links in. In fact, let's try and explain all of it yet again in a simpler format. Let's show you a flow chart where the investigative agencies have reportedly traced these entire funds flow to make their case. When Bhandari is brought back to India, he will be extremely extensively questioned with this aim to try and get him to explain the intricacies involved. In fact, let's tell you about how the funds allegedly flowed through these funds from 2007 petroleum deal. Here is a flowchart. We are going to show to you how the 2007 petroleum deal, it was of course later on inked by 2010, how it allegedly flowed all the way across to Robert Vadra as per the investigative agencies. Here's the entire flow. So the petroleum deal, as per the Enforcement Directorate, the kickbacks were to the tune of 1.9 million pounds. It was then transferred to Syntec International in UAE. Now, who owns Syntec International? None other than Sanjay Bhandari. This is the alleged flow of the kickbacks. From Syntec UAE, it then gets transferred and then Sanjay Bhandari buys this property at 12 Branston Stone Mansion in London, one of the villas, where 1.9 million pounds is then transferred to it. Following which, it is bought from Vortex. Vortex Private Limited is where they buy it. Now, here's the interesting thing. Following this buy of 12 Branston Stone Villa, the Vortex shares are then transferred to Skylight Investment in UAE. Who really owns Skylight Investments? Well, it is owned by C. Thampi, who is known to be a very close aide of Robert Vadra. So you can see the entire flow of these funds as per the Enforcement Directorate, which they have used to convince the UK court that there is good reason to look into where exactly this money trail has begun, which is why they have managed to get this extradition order of Sanjay Bhandari. Now, after a massive setback to his aid, Times Now has confronted Robert Vadra. Watch how he dodges our straight questions. And while the UPA era minister, Pallam Raju, on the other hand, insists that there was no scam in my tenure. Watch this.
Robert Vadra, Sanjay Bhandari will be brought back to India. What do you have to say? Vadra, what do you have to say? Sanjay Bhandari will be brought back to India.
Yeah, I would welcome the extradition of all these people who are claiming to be middlemen, and we would welcome a probe into it, if they are claiming something.
Okay,
but I can very confidently say that the UPA government, especially the Ministry of Defence, with people like Mr. Pranab Mukherjee at the helm of affairs and Mr. Antony at the helm of affairs, we were proud that our track record shows that there were never any scandals, and if there were anything that was brought to our notice, we immediately cancelled those tenders. We cashed in the deposit given by vendors, and we even handed over the cases to the CBI, like we did, an example being the Eurocopter. I've been in the ministry for 7 years. Never did I hear of pressure from the family overtly or covertly.
So that essentially is the entire route alleged by the Enforcement Directorate as well as the Income Tax Department, the agencies that they have shown to the UK court, due to which today the UK court categorically has said that the onus of furbishing proof now lies on the defendant, Sanjay Bhandari. But the linkage to Robert Vadra is something that the investigative agencies definitely are going to be looking into.